And it's Ken Kreitzer for CBSI Services Talking Business, another episode of our Talking Business interview series, talking with leaders in marketing, digital communication, customer service, banking, insurance, and business education. And very pleased to be able to talk with Nancy Harhut, who is the co-founder of MBT Marketing up in Needham, Massachusetts. We met at the New England Direct Marketing Association event last December. Nancy, how are you today?
I'm well, Ken. Thank you very much for asking, and I'm happy to be here.
Oh, that's neat. I was just re-listening to our talk in December at the New England Direct Marketing Association after you gave a presentation. You've got a long history in copywriting and editing. Maybe you should just tell our audience again some of the stops on your career path in copywriting.
Sure. Oh, thank you. That's very sweet. I started out as a copywriter at Mullen Advertising. Then I went over to what's currently Digitas, and then spent some time at Hill Holiday, all very classic, well-known New England-based, but New England-based agencies with national and international clients. And now, along with John Sisson, I have co-founded MBT Marketing, and what we do is focus on applying behavioral science to marketing best practices. And behavioral science is basically the study of why people do what they do. And if you think about it in marketing, we want to get people to take certain actions. So it would be very helpful for us to know why people do what they do. And what social scientists have found is a lot of times we do things without really thinking. We just rely on automatic, instinctive, reflexive behaviors, hardwired behaviors. So what we do is we take into account those hardwired behaviors and we build triggers for them into our strategies and our creative executions that will make it more likely that people do what marketers want them to do. We kind of nudge people in one direction or another.
Well, in thinking about your presentation and our talk, that you focused on keywords as being so important and key messaging to try and gain compliance. And I thought of so many public officials today who are trying to gain compliance with social distancing and staying at home and other remedies to this terrible COVID virus crisis we're dealing with. And I just thought of you. What are some of the key words that are effective for you in trying to reach the public gaining compliance in a situation like this?
Sure. So I think one of the words is the word because. Social scientists have found that people are more likely to do what you ask them to do if you give them a reason why. And there's a researcher that came out of Harvard, her name was Ellen Langer, and she identified the word because as an automatic compliance trigger. When we see or hear the word because, we just start to nod up and down like little bobbleheads without fully processing what comes next. We see or hear that word because, and we just figure whatever comes next is going to be a good reason, and we have a tendency to just say yes, to comply. So I think providing that reason why could be very helpful right now, given the current situation. I mean, it works across the board for marketing, but right now for this, it would be particularly important. And there's another behavioral science principle called social proof. And basically it holds that when people aren't certain of what to do, we look to others and we follow their lead. So every time we hear stories about people who aren't complying, seeing large crowds of people together, seeing people not keeping social distance, not wearing masks, whatever it is, what that's really telling us, the message it's sending to people is, oh, that's what everyone's doing. And that's actually going to backfire. So instead of focusing on people who aren't doing what we're supposed to be doing, the messaging should really focus more on the people who are doing it, because that sends the message that, oh, okay, other people are doing this, they're keeping social distance, therefore I should. Other people are wearing masks, therefore I should. Other people aren't going out, therefore I should not. So I think both of those, based on behavioral science, could be very effective given today's climate.
Well, certainly strategic messaging for companies today is very important. And marketing really had to stop on a dime in early March when the virus became such a paramount crisis. And messaging really had to stop doing what the promotions might have been featuring for the time for this year and move into, well, how is the company reacting to the COVID virus crisis? How did you see companies handling that? What were some of the keys to doing that well?
Well, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Things kind of ground to a halt. We're dealing with something that, we've really never dealt with before. There are certain analogous situations, but most of us have never really lived through this. I don't think any of us necessarily have. So we're all trying to figure it out. But one of the things that we talk to our clients about is think about the mindset, the mind frame that your target market is going to be in. So, for one thing, um, they're feeling disconnected, right? Suddenly, we can't gather in groups, we can't go into the office, we can't go to school, we're feeling disconnected. So any kind of messaging that helps to create community or that focuses on shared experience could be something that's very good. I actually just a few days ago sat in on a world data webinar, and they monitor about 6 billion emails every year. And what they were saying is over the last couple of weeks, you get a 34 to a 41% lift in your email opens if your subject line somehow nods to the current situation. And that
Sure.
doesn't necessarily mean it has to say COVID-19, but it could say, WFH, right? Work from home. It could say bored. It could say staying in or virtual. All of those words and subject lines are doing really, really well now. The other thing we tell our clients is, sure, people are feeling disconnected. They're also feeling distracted. You just can't, you can't shut it off. There's so much news going on. You're worried, what's happening? What are the latest news stories? What happened today? Plus, you've got maybe your kids that you're trying to homeschool now at home with you while you're trying to work. You've maybe got your spouse or your partner who's also trying to work. And so people are distracted. So for messaging, any messaging that you're going to send out, make sure you come to the point quickly, be succinct, be clear, make it easy to scan so that people don't have to wait to find the information, and offer immediate value, whether it's entertainment or education or a solution to a current problem or even a special deal related to the current situation. And then the third thing we're telling people is remember that your customers and your prospects are afraid, right? We're frightened right now. You need to acknowledge that. And one of the ways to deal with that as a marketer, because we can't necessarily reassure people everything's going to be all right, because we don't know, and it may not be in in our product or service mix to offer something that might help you depending on what we're selling, but try to be conscious of the fact that people are afraid and convey trust. And one way to do that is to make sure that your messaging is easy to understand. Because if your messaging is easy to understand, people feel more confident in their ability to make a decision about it. So have easy to understand messaging, have easy to navigate websites, just make it easy for people. Display trust badges, trust icons. People want to know that they can trust you, that you're a proven entity, and that they'll be safe with you. So those are some of the things that we're counseling our clients about right now.
Very good advice about keeping engaged. Now, one of the areas we've done a lot of discussion with some of the business area groups here in Westchester County. I'm in White Plains, New York. Our company is in Harrison, just down the road, is helping small businesses who are terribly suffering from closures. From some of the restaurants have moved to takeout only if they're open at all. Stores have had to try to switch to e-commerce, or some cases being able to pick up orders at the door, and so many others have struggled. I see a lot of the family-owned companies that just don't have much social media presence and limited experience on how to do it. What are some of the advice you would have for some of the small businesses, some of the family-owned companies, about being able to keep engagement and notifying their customers about what service they are still able to provide?
Sure, I think that's it's a good point that maybe people aren't as familiar with this. They're not doing, they're not used to doing it a lot. But whether they're sending an email or a flyer through the mail, or they're posting on social, one of the things that you want to do is you want to thank your customers. Let your customers know that you appreciate their business. You've appreciated them in the past and you appreciate them now. Let them know what's helpful information, what they want to know. If it's a restaurant, are you open? Which hours are you open? Do you have contactless delivery or curbside delivery? Or how does it work? Is your menu the same? Is it a special menu? Really, with any business, it's providing the information that people want. If you have to close, maybe there's something that you can do that's an alternate. Maybe you have products or services available online. That's great if you do. If you don't, there are still ways, I think, to be relevant and to stay involved. We're watching a lot of our not-for-profit clients do some interesting things. Museums are creating contests. There's I think it's the Getty Museum in LA, where they show different artwork and they said, recreate this at home and send us your pictures of how you're going to recreate it at home. Different organizations are putting out programming that could just be entertaining, or they're putting out information that could be helpful, even if they can't conduct commerce the way they used to. So it's really thinking about how you can still be relevant, how you can still maintain that connection. And, we always talk about authenticity in marketing. That's been a big business word, a big buzzword, I should say, in business. But right now, absolutely just be authentic. Don't worry if you're not used to doing this, if you're not terribly polished, if you don't think you've mastered social media or email marketing or direct mail or whatever channel you choose, telemarketing. Just be yourself, make that honest, authentic connection. Know that we're all in this together, and everybody's hoping that we're all going to emerge out of it together.
Absolutely, so important. Yeah, we do a little work with the American Museum of Natural History in New York City, and they've been doing little video tours of some of the areas of the museum for people to watch, even as a break, which is so important to build engagement, keep engagement with your audience. Now, one of the things we're working on is, and we're all learning about, is effectively working at home, working with new tools. I'm amazed how effective Zoom is, and I really didn't know much about it before 3 or 4 weeks ago. What have you found any key effective ways for people to work at home? Key software apps that are helping? Just internal communication within a company. Some companies are doing Zoom all hands so that they can field questions and keep everybody together. What are some of your advice on best practices in working from home?
So that's a great question, and I think it's wildly applicable these days. I think it's almost like you have to take the Nike approach: just do it. Because for some people, they're used to working at home. Okay, it's not as big of an adjustment. It's certainly an adjustment in other ways, but not as big. But for some people who weren't used to working from home, it's quite different, right? So I say, like, just do it, just kind of plunge in. That said, there are a few tips that I have. One is try not to respond every time that phone bings, right? Every time you hear a bing, it's like, oh, I have a social media post. Ooh, I think I just got an email. What you need to do is block off some time. Could be 45 minutes, could be an hour, could be a couple of hours, but block off some time to try to work and say, I'm going to be answering emails later. I'm going to be reviewing social posts later. Right now, I need to work. And don't be a kind of a slave. Every time you hear that bing, you have to turn and check, because then it takes a long time to reset. So that's one piece of advice. Another piece of advice is to allow yourself to feel a little unfamiliar or a little unsettled. Know that you're going to be more distracted. Know that this is going to feel not as comfortable as it used to, or as you imagined it might be back when you thought, oh, wouldn't it be great if I could just work from home? And now you're like, ooh, not quite what I'd envisioned at all. So, just know and embrace the fact that there's going to be some uncertainty and some discomfort. And then the third recommendation I have is you've got a lot of things you're trying to accomplish. Chunk those into smaller, more easy to manage tasks, because if you have a little bit of a smaller to-do list, you're going to make more progress on it, and that progress psychologically feels really good, and you're going to feel like, okay, I accomplished that, now I can move on to the next, as opposed to looking at that whole big thing that you have to do. Look at smaller chunks of it, and you're going to feel a lot more motivated and a lot more satisfied that you're making progress.
Well, also important factors today to maintain productivity at home, and realizing this is a big adjustment. I've never been at home so much in years, because I'm used to being pretty much on the go, either work or going to events. So this is different. Now, Nancy, I just thought maybe you'd tell us a little bit more about the services your company does, and especially the decision science capability that you bring to your clients.
Sure, Ken. Thank you. That's a great question. I appreciate it. So, as I was saying earlier, we add decision science or behavioral science principles to strategies and creative executions. And what that really means is you're getting a 1-2 punch. You obviously want to work with an agency that knows the best practices of marketing, whether it's email or direct mail or landing pages or websites or social. But then you can layer on top of that everything that behavioral economists, neuroscientists, social scientists have found about how people make decisions and the very automatic ways that they respond. And when you have your foundation of best practices, and then you add to that the triggers that get people to automatically respond without thinking, you will greatly increase the likelihood that they do what you want them to do. Now, obviously, there is no silver bullet. You'll never be able to convince someone to do something they don't want to, and that's certainly not what we're in the business of doing. But very often people might be on the fence, or they're, cruising along on autopilot without really thinking, and uh, we find that language and use those behavioral science principles to send them in your direction. For example, one of the things that we talk about a lot is the principle of autonomy bias. And basically what that means is social scientists have found that humans have this very strong, hardwired, innate desire to be in control of ourselves and our surroundings and our environment. Right now, that's particularly pronounced, right? Right now, we're feeling out of control. Very little is in our control. Things are going crazy. We're experiencing things that we've never experienced before. And anything we can do to try to return control to people is going to be a really good thing. And there are ways to do that. And one way to do that is to offer choice. So, it could be as simple as, instead of saying, oh, you're looking to open up a business banking account, here you go. You could say, hey, you're looking to open up a business banking account. Well, here's our business banking fundamentals, and here's our business banking premier. Give people a choice. When you give somebody a choice, they're much more likely to make a decision in the moment. If there's one option, their decision is, do I or do I not want this? And very often they back off and say, I need to think about this. There's no context, no comparison. Once you have 2 or 3 or 4 choices, the choice becomes, which of these do I want, as opposed to, do I or do I not want it? Tulane University ran a study, and they found that you're 4 times as likely to make a buying decision in the moment if you're given a choice. And then to piggyback on that, there's something known as the BYAF technique, and that stands for but you are free, BYAF. And there's a social scientist named Chris Carpenter who did some research into this. And what he found was, if you ask someone to do something, and then you follow it up by reminding them that they're free to choose, they're about twice as likely to do what you're asking them to do. So you might say, we'd love you to open a bank account. We'd love you to take out a loan. But of course, the choice is yours. But of course, the decision is yours. But of course, you're free to choose. You don't have to use but you are free. But any language around that, just reminding people, here's what we'd like you to do. Here's what your opportunity is. But certainly it's up to you, can double the likelihood that they actually respond in the affirmative, that they say yes. So that's just a little example of how we take what social scientists have found about human behavior, and we apply it to marketing messages so that our clients can see an increase in people doing what they want them to do.
And Nancy Harhut, co-founder, HBT Marketing, based in Needham, Massachusetts, graduate of Boston University, very fine school, and the New England Direct Marketing Association, a frequent speaker and participant at events. Do you have a quick final thought for us today?
So I think everyone just hang in there, keep the faith, stay strong, stay inside, stay well and well away from everyone else, and let's all look towards the day when we can be back out there and business gets a little bit closer to normal.
Absolutely, and we'll look forward to seeing you at another New England Direct Marketing Association. Mariah Hunt and her team really do a great job with the events. I had the pleasure going to 2 conferences last year, both held at Bentley University. Really very fine, productive learning days, and a lot of fine marketers there. Nancy Harhut, best wishes to you. Thank you for your time today and sharing expertise, and best wishes, and stay safe through this COVID virus crisis.
You too, Ken. Thank you so much. Appreciate being here.
Our pleasure. Good to talk with you. And this is Ken Kreitzer for CBSI Services, based in Harrison, New York. 40 years serving the banking industry with insurance products, benefit programs, work very actively in the credit card field, providing benefits, travel, warranty, premium services. And very proud of our team that's been working with our clients, bank clients, on all of the issues that have come up, to helping take care of their customers, especially with all of the challenges in the travel industry last month. And so we're looking forward to when this crisis is over and we're back to normal business. Thank you again to Nancy. So for CDSI Services, Talking Business, this is Ken Kreitzer.